was a really bad experience, seeing my son in shackles on the ankles and in the hands coming to see me in court.
He has that high authority telling you what to do, and I didn't like that.
I'm very strict, so it's what I say and not what you think it should be.
I just felt like doing what I wanted to do.
If I could put her away, I would.
I was 16 years old when I had Mark. I was pregnant with Mark when I was 15. Mark was a really good boy. Mark was born a really good boy. I always had a deep trust in him. Probably when Mark was 11 or 12 years old, there was a lot of difficulty in the house. Mark had stolen $40 from a friend, so I knew something was changing in him.
She had a job where she wouldn't come home till like 9 o'clock at night, so I would come home and be alone, so I had to learn how to cook for myself and, you know, if I was in school, basically defend myself. And if I wanted to go to the store and I had no money, how would I have money unless I got it my way?
I saw an anger in Mark that I had not seen before, and I just wondered, you know, this is not normal.
When she'd curse at me, I'd curse right back. She'd start hitting me, and then I'd try and run away and run into my room, close the door. She'd break in, hit me some more.
At the time, he was being bullied. Mark had been jumped in school. He was getting into fights. At this point now, he brings a weapon to school. And now Mark was being arrested for bringing a weapon to school.
Emerald was with me from a baby because her mother was in prison. Even though I'm her biological grandmother, I was also her foster parent. Emerald started to rebel against me. It was about 8th grade. She's talking back to her teachers. She's not doing her work. I send her to school every day and thinking that she's going to school, and she is going to school, but they called me and they told me that she was walking in and walking out.
Me and my cousin began to we weren't doing bad, we just didn't want to go to school.
At one time, she left the house, going to school. Her and her cousin met up. They didn't come back home. And that scared me. That really scared me. She has nowhere to go.
I just felt like doing what I wanted to do.
I felt like putting her away. I felt like if I could put her away, I would.
When we're talking about PINs, we're really talking about youth under the age of 18 that are seen as ungovernable, who may be truant, who may be acting out.
The child is given an attorney, the parent may be given an attorney, and there's a judge there, obviously, in the courthouse who will hear their case. And it is a lengthy process. The parent would have to prove those allegations against their child. The parent may have to testify against their child.
You never want to try a PINS case because that's pitting parents and children against one another in a courtroom. And that almost never helps.
There's nothing in that process that is helping the family other than people just getting it off of their chest what the problems are.
Many times parents do approach a PINS petition thinking that this will make my child go to school, or this will make my child, obey the law or not, be arrested again. And in fact, that's not actually the case.
Taking the child out of the home and placing them into another facility, whether that's foster home or group home or residential treatment center, isn't getting at the root of the problem, which is what is happening between the parent and the child.
Families can come to the Family Assessment Program to seek support and assistance in dealing with whatever challenging situations that may be going on with their young people.
I knew that I could come to family court and somebody would tell me somewhere to go. I figured if they tell her, maybe that would scare her into doing what she had to do. Instead, she was angry. I had to leave her and let her go into a room with the gentleman.
He was asking me like all these questions. He was just like, oh, you don't seem to care. And I was like, I don't, and I don't know why I'm here, so I'm about to leave. And he was like, oh, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am, because I don't have to talk to you if I don't want to.
He spoke to the both of us, and he says, your grandmother is just at wit's end. He says, now, what would you like to do? Would you like her to get some help? And I said, yes, she needs the help. I don't know what I can do. And he says, well, she needs help. She has issues. And he says, and there's a program. And I says, yes, by all means.
Good morning, Ms. Jones. My name is Ms. Gary. I'm the social worker that's assigned to speak with you. Good morning.
Families need to know that they're not in situations alone, that there is support.
Ms. Jones, I want to let you know that what we're going to discuss today is confidential.
That it's not something that is beyond their control.
Okay, what is going on with Ashley?
Ashley continues to have truancy issues.
Each office has experienced social workers that are familiar with family situations and family dynamics and have worked with adolescents in the past.
They referred me to CAS. If you don't talk, if you don't speak, they can't help you. Like the hip.
Oh, okay.
So of course she came here not speaking, not talking. I had to come with her, and of course I had an attitude. She had an attitude.
I talked to Miss Allen about what was going on in the home, what her impressions were, what her thoughts were, what she thought she wanted to be different.
And she talked to me straight out the way I would like to be spoken to and stuff, and she told me what I could do with my attitude.
I had went to family court in Staten Island. I was interviewed and they just asked me details as to what was going on. I received a letter of where I should go and who I would be meeting with.
We figured Mark would need like a male role model, during that time I was running my young males mentoring and support group.
When I went to the boys group and I seen all these kids, it's like I didn't like the way they were looking at me. And then I seen Mr. Howard, and at first I didn't get along with him. You know what I mean? Because he was like, oh, take a seat. But I didn't, he was a male, you know what I mean? And it was that whole, if you're gonna tell me what to do thing, I might as well just walk out.
During the course of maybe 1 or 2 sessions, you would see that frown may crack into a smile if a joke is stated. Some of the young people call me Mr. Clean, and I give them that opportunity to, I'm a human being. I can joke as well with you. I can take a joke.
And then I seen that all these kids felt they could speak to him. And I was like, well, there has to be a reason why. And I spoke to him, alone a couple of times, when I had to. Because there was something on my mind, and he was always there. And then I felt as if all these kids, they were like, in ways, a brother to me.
Whatever I want to talk about, I can talk about like school, my boyfriend, you know, just anything, my favorite subject, or what I like to do with TV shows I like and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, this is pretty cool.
And she started opening up, and she didn't have to tell me anything, which bothered me, because I felt like, why not? It's not a secret, even though I was coming here saying that, well, I don't ask any question, but I did. And she would tell me just as big, I don't have to tell you.
Emerald had a lot of strengths that she didn't know about, that she wasn't able to tap into herself. So she was very creative. She was a great writer. So often she would, in sessions, we would write things together, or she would write letters to people that may have heard her. And she would never send the letters. It was just a release for her to get it out in writing.
I would tell her about my mom. She was on drugs. It bothered me in a little bit a way, because other people had their mom, and it bothered me because while everybody was with their mom, I didn't really have a mom. So I would see her once in a while, but we really didn't have a good relationship, because she was out in the street, and I guess her had to see her kids and stuff, but I didn't really care how she looked and what she did. I just wanted her to be my mom.
One of the things that I often talk about with the parent is that the child isn't a bad child. It's usually not that the child is purposefully acting out or purposefully not doing well in school or misbehaving. It's usually other things that are affecting the child that are causing them to act a certain way.
She told me I would have to come back and that I was going to have to ease up, stop being so hard. So I started listening to her, because that was the biggest thing. I never listened. And right now, I don't listen too well. But then I have to stop sometime, catch myself, because I'm just stuck in a mold, you know? You can't be that way.
These issues he had in the past started to resurface, and they were more deep-seated issues that needed a little bit more intense work. He continued to have conflicts with his mother in the home.
What's going on with your attitudes here?
Leave me alone, bro. So I started going back to what I was doing. And I had actually taken it to a step further, than hanging out with people I shouldn't have been hanging out with, doing drugs and hanging out on the corners and drinking. We robbed a couple houses and people, and I felt as if, all right, well, we did it here, so we can just keep going.
I had this gut-wrenching feeling that Mark was going to do the wrong thing. I couldn't even tell you. And 2 weeks later, he gets arrested, and I get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning telling me my son is at the police station.
They sent me to court. I wasn't allowed to go back home, and I had to go to jail. So I was like, wow. You know what I mean? I didn't know what to expect now.
Seeing my son in shackles on the ankles and in the hands coming to see me in court. And now you could see this malice coming out of his face, and this just bad kid, really bad kid.
at the time when I had first gotten out of jail, I was even more angrier than I was. So when me and my mom when she tried to hit me, I would flip a couch, slam doors, punch holes in my walls, a lot of holes. Basically like anything that could like free me from like try and like release some anger.
And you give them a test?
Yeah, it's like how I feel with them. I spoke to her about everything. Up on like 640. And I told her from when I was little to everything I can remember to now. And me and her together found out what made me so angry from before I went to jail and then after jail. And then finding that and talking about it, it was like locked up and it was like a built up anger. So when I spoke about it, it was almost as like she gave me the key to unlock it, and it was like I had felt better.
His therapist went deeper, you know, had more sessions in the home rather than in the office.
And then like
you got to see a different Mark, you know, because he's more relaxed and now he's on his turf, so to speak, and in his home, and he's able to really express honestly and truthfully what's going on.
I put him in his place, actually. I finally got like father. Yeah.
It empowered Miss Stavro to retake her role as a stronger parent.
You know, quite disturbing. So he was like, oh, I didn't have any time. I said, well.
They also focused on my structuring of Mark and then my own, you know, parental decisions. You know, definitely bringing back discipline into the home and me being more consistent in, you know, making certain rules and showing Mark that there's a hierarchy, that, you know, the parent, it is what the parent says.
Because of Elizabeth, she showed my mom that you have to put your foot down. So there's that like adult role model telling, you know, him that this is wrong and this is how you're gonna pay for it.
And just by her saying that, instead of me saying it, because, you know, maybe children at times feel like, oh, my parents just want to be mean to me. But when her stepping in and after all the time that she spent with him and her from as a third party showing that she cared, he realized that whatever she said was going to be to his benefit.
Well, my mom's, I guess, like, she had the same thing I had, was like pent up anger maybe, and then towards me because, you know, I did so bad like in the past before. So now that she could also talk to somebody and tell her that, you know, she was right, probably like brought, you know, boost her up a little bit.
Every time I said something to Emerald, it was in anger. I wouldn't even start out pleasant. I start out straight evil, mean. And I realized that I hurt her a lot. By calling her dumb, calling her slow, calling her retard. All these things used to hurt her. So when she did something I didn't like, I didn't call her stupid. I stopped calling her names.
I can tell her like the way I feel, like if I don't like something she does, even though like I tend to play around and she's still like, she's kind of stern, but I'm getting older, so I tell her like, oh, this is not right, but you know, I don't like this. And she gets mad and, you know, she gets mad for the day and then the next day she's like, oh, I don't like that you did that. And then I tell her like, no, this is the way it has to be. And sometimes she listens, sometimes she don't. I just got my associate's degree for fashion merchandising. I enjoy clothes and putting clothes together. And I felt like I'm really good with kids, and if I can pursue my dream in fashion, I'll probably have like something to fall back on, which is kids, probably childcare or something.
I do get angry, you know, still, but if my mom, you know, and me an argument and I know I cannot like take it anymore, well, I'll just go into my room and, you know, lay down just to calm down my anger. And then as soon as I feel I'm ready, I'll go back and, you know, talk.
Nice, on your toes, toes! I really saw him go from losing control to punching lockers
to turning red, to the tears coming out, to pulling hair, to collapsing, to breathing heavy, to being able to control the situation. Not 100% all the time, but 90% of the time. I'm very impressed with how he's dealing with his anger these days.
Every match that we have a home game, I tell all my wrestlers a jail story.
Correct, that's what I mean.
And because I'm older now, I feel I am wiser. I teach all my wrestlers, you know, like as if they're my little brothers. And I tell them, you know, if your mom gets on you about your homework, just do your homework, you know what I mean? And if your dad, you know what I mean, is there, be grateful that your dad's there, because I never had one.
Come on, 25 seconds.
Mark comes home and I see him at the dining room table and he's doing his homework. And he's scratching his head and he's really formulating thoughts. Haven't seen that since he was really young. Mark's more toward my intent now and anything that I would have wanted him to be as a child, as my teenager, as my, you know, my baby, because she was there to help. She really made us close again and made us love each other again. She brought that back and it felt like it would never get there again.
I would encourage more parents, keep up the fight. Can't lose your baby. That's what we usually tell the parents. This is your baby, you know. I know he's 17-year-old and, you know, maybe a little rough around the edges, but that's still your baby, you know, and you can't give up on him, you know.